Hey, Shalom, Shalom. Want to start off by giving all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachahakodash, the Ba'ansai apostles who are elders who rule well. Blessings and salutations to you brothers out there teaching and enduring truth with sincerity. This Rob Amouth of the Nebraska camp, this is GMS any Fort, Nebraska. And I wanted to, go over sifting, man, because we're in the time of sifting, okay? But we all know the precepts that's within the gospel, but we're going to get it anyway, definitely for edification purposes, All right. So we're going to Amos 9:9. It says, "For lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth." All right, this is very important, very important statement that's made. And if you can see in post-production, I have an example of the sifting process, okay? And what's something that I like to key on in particular, man, is the shaking and the violence of the sifting. It's not hard to understand a process. You're separating the good from the bad, but the process or the result. But the process to get the result is the violence, okay? Because see here, look up, shake back and forth violently. All right, because I believe that what the word violent goes back to. Get the etymology in a dictionary, online dictionary. It says using or involving physical force intended to hurt, damage, or kill someone or something. Yeah, so that's not the particular definition I was looking for. I really can't find it. But oscillate, sway, swing, indulate, vibrate, things like that. But there's a shaking back and forth. There's a disturbance. Okay. And when you read in the scriptures, it tells you, that this is a part of the process. Okay. It tells you that this is a part of the process. So, all right, we're going to go into the hell. So when we go into Sirach 2:1, it says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation." All right, and that temptation is not the literal definition, but that's the aspect of the agitation. That's the aspect of the violence within the sifting. Okay, because why? We go into 1 Corinthians 10:13. It says, "There have no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man." Again, that temptation is the violence of the agitation process to separate. Okay, but again, it says, "There have no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But the Most High is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it." Okay, so that agitation or that violence, that shaking back and forth, the sifting process, because this sifting process happens to everybody. Well, I can't say the violence happens to everybody, and really the elect will choose the right, and the 2/3 will choose the left. Okay, so it says Matthew 5:45, "That ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven, for he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and the unjust." So, the good and the bad happens to everybody. You know what I'm saying? But the elect are going to choose and pretty much produce proper results, good results. All right. And that's the thing. So the thing is that while we're going through this agitation, via through tribulation, let's get that word tribulation. Okay. We'll go to the etim online. Okay. All right. So that word tribulation, it goes into a state or condition of great affliction, oppression, suffering, or distress. Okay. Physical, emotional, or spiritual. Okay. Distress, trouble, affliction. All right. Action from past participle. So the tribulation, aka the temptation, tribulation, the evil times, is the agitation process. It's the sifting process. All right. And as you can see, again, in post-production, you see how the sifting process works. It is shaking. So the tribulation, temptation, that's a shaking process. And the elect is going to stay on top. All right. And the bad is going to fall out at the bottom. All right. The weak ones are going to fall through the cracks, through the agitation, through the sifting. All right. And for younger brothers, when you're going through the sifting, when you're going through the agitation of the sifting, man, the violent back and forths, aka things that are going on within our personal lives, things that are going on in the world, we are to maintain and stay focused, keep our eyes single, as the scripture says. Okay. And that's the thing. That's why we can't have, fallback plans. This has got to be everything. If it's not your everything, you're not going to last long. All right. Matthew 6 and 22, it says, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. All right. And that eye being single is representative of your focus, man. But your eye is your spirit. All right. You're really your desires, your soul. Okay. And it says the whole body is full of light. But if thy eye be evil, all right, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. And it's a beautiful example because from the single eye to the evil eye, there's a different result. All right. Your body should be full of light, or your body should be full of darkness. And therefore, the light that is in thee be darkness. How great is that darkness? Okay. So when that agitation process comes, you're going to choose evil because you're evil in spirit. All right. But if you're of the light, you're going to choose light. Okay. You're not going to turn on the Lord. You're not going to turn your back because, again, the closer we get to this thing, as the scriptures say, the end is manifest. We're talking about martial law. We're talking about the MOTB. Okay. We're talking about great tribulation. All right. Let's see here. So Matthew 24 and 21, very good chapter, by the way. It says a lot of prophecies. It says, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be, except those days should be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Because that agitation is going to increase the closer we get to the end of this thing. And it's going to get to the point that if it continues, no flesh shall be saved. And what's the agitation is just, they're messing with the foods, the laws. You can't, how YouTube operates, how the world accepts this gospel, the laws that Esau's putting in defense of his MOTB and his great reset that he's trying to attempt to do. There's going to be a lot of violence. All right. But the Lord is allowing this violence to happen to sift Jake, man. All right. To sift them. OK, because the weak ones are going to fall through the cracks and the strong ones are going to stay at the top. And then one thing that is that's synonymous with that agitation is that it becomes clear who's who. Okay, The more agitation happens, the more separation happens, and the more, you know, you'll see who's who. And that's why, the Lord said he will make a man more precious than gold. Okay? Let's see here if I can find it real quick. All right, so we're going to go into Isaiah 13:12. It says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. Because, while all this agitation is happening, a lot of the truth is going to manifest, man. The people that are weak, because you got that concept of, oh, if that was me, I would have did this, I would have did that, I would have blase blah. But there's no real conflict or agitation to prove if you're telling the truth or not, But the Lord is allowing this society to become degenerate to where, the temptations are increasing, the violence is increasing. All right, like the scriptures say. See here, we're in a time where much glory don't abide, man. Okay. And that's going to cause a lot of agitation. The love of many shall wax cold. Okay. So in Ezra it says, he answered me. At 2 Ezra 7:42 it says, he answered me and said, this present life is not the end where much glory doth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. Okay. And I was talking about that time. You know what I'm saying? And this time, glory don't abide either. Okay, but in verse 43 it says, but the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality forth to come, wherein corruption is past. All right, so this place doesn't hold a lot of glory, so that's a catalyst for agitation. That's a catalyst for degenerate behavior and violence. All right, and that violence is going to make you say, hey, you know what, bro, this ain't it, man. You know what I'm saying? I need to go to the Lord, or if you can't beat him, join him. This is the only way, so the Lord allows two choices, either good or bad, man. And through that agitation, you're going to choose who you want to, what side you want to choose. Because just like a parent dying, a relative dying, close friend passing away, you're losing a job, you may come up on some money. These are all kind of agitations, okay? Whether it's positive or negative, there's still an agitation because it disrupts the constant, it just disrupts the comfort or complacency of where you're at. You know what I'm saying? And it can make you go in a certain direction instead of staying focused on that beaten path, But again, the elect is going to stand true in the through the agitation process. The 2/3 going to slip through the cracks. So I say that to the men of the Lord, stand ye stiff for the name of the Lord, man. Matter of fact, we're going to end it off on that. We have to overcome in this process, okay? And so 2 Ezra chapter 2 and see here. I'll start off at 41. No, I'm sorry, 42. It says, I Ezra saw upon Mount Zion a great people. All right, and that great people is the nation of Israel, specifically the elect. Okay, the elect of Israel, whom I could not number. And this is a good point because I want to get this little footnote because Christians like to mingle scriptures, man. All right. So we go into Revelation 7 and 9. It says, after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and peoples and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, and cried with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our power, which sitteth upon the throne, and to the Lamb. Right? So, just connecting the dots for Akim, Esau like to sit there and say that verse is talking about all nations, especially somebody like Vocab. They'll try to say, okay, a great multitude which no man could number of all nations and kindreds. That's talking about the Israelites, the Israelite foreigners that are in different lands and different like things like that, because there's Israelites in Thailand that believe, there's Israelites in Japan, there's Israelites all over. All right, because there's Israelites that don't teach. All right, there's women and children that are of the elect, of the hopeful elect. You know, at the end of the day, they are the elect, but we just don't know who they are. You know what I'm saying? Because the elect, not 144,000 is different from the elect. Okay, the 144,000 are the men that's teaching. The elect is the innumerable multitude. You know, and 144 is of course the elect as well. All right, so it's, you know, it's just a layer to it. All right, but going back to 2 Ezra 42 and 42, it says, Ezra saw upon Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with songs. What is that song? That's the gospel. All right, that's the will of the Heavenly Father. All right, that's a song that we're singing. The downfall of Babylon, salvation, resisting the MOTB. You know, going along with the prophecies, prophesying, praising His name. All right, that's a song that the elect will sing. All right, and that's why we don't have to say Christ, all right, or Jesus and all that to garner people, because the Spirit of the Lord resteth upon those who He want to wake up. As He said in Matthew as well, He wrote things in parables for those who seeing may not see. So everybody ain't meant to wake up, all right? That's a part of the agitation process too, is the stumbling blocks within the scriptures, man. A lot of people stumble and fall off. A lot of people stumble and they dig and figure it out. All right, or get, you know, oh damn, this is heavy, and they figure it out. In verse 43, it says, in the midst of them there was a young man of high stature, and that's Yahushai, taller than the rest, and that shows you that there's a hierarchy. All right, there's a hierarchy within this in the heavens. Okay, but as well, there's going to be a hierarchy in New Jerusalem as well. All right, there's order. You're not just going to go in there and say, okay, I made it. Now I could just do what I want. All right. And I'm in a perfect paradise, so I can just chill all day. No, bro, it's an order. All right. It says, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they, the innumerable multitude that have put off the mortal clothing, the world, all right, because the world is gonna try to force you. They're gonna try to force you to get weave in your head. They're gonna try to force you to get lineups because of the culture, all right, and that's a process of agitation. You know what I'm saying? That's a process of sifting. You know, the cultural norms, a bunch of other things as well, right? It says, and put on the immortal clothing, which is the righteousness through the Holy Spirit, through truth. Okay. It says, it says, and have confessed the name of Yahweh. All right. That's the thing. We ain't saying we don't know the name. We confessing the name, because if y'all don't know the IUIC, if y'all don't know the name, why do y'all use Jesus then? Okay, if it's an incommunicable name, then just say we don't know the name. Just keep it like that. We ain't gonna just give out a fake name. It don't make sense. If you don't know the name, then why use Jesus? Why you're opposed to Yahushua if nobody knows the name? So many angles and holes in that shit. But getting back to it, it says, now are they crowned and receive palms? Then say I unto the angel, what young person is that crowneth them and giveth them palms in their hands? He answered and said unto me, it is the Son of Man, who is Yahushai, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. They stood stiff in that agitation. All right, because it's not like they stood there and nothing was going on. There's a bunch of things that'll try to move you out your spot. All right, there's a bunch of things that's trying to pull you down and take you out your spot, whether it's benefits or evil. Okay, whether it's blessings or evil, because Satan will bless you to get you out your spot too. Okay, if that makes sense, Satan will give you something Same way he's told Yahushua he'll give him the kingdom that he looks over and see before him. Okay? Satan has the ability to do certain things like that, right? And it'll bug you out. It ain't gonna be the way that you think it to be. All right. But the point is that that's the agitation process that we go through. Even though we're supposed to stand stiff, there's gonna be reasons why we should move off our post. Okay? And all those reasons are according to the flesh, and we have to stick to the will of the Heavenly Father. You know, and that's why he said that, you know, the least of them shall not fall out of his hand, because the least, no matter who you are, the Lord put the Spirit on us. You know, so no matter what dangers or what it is, the Lord gonna put the Spirit on us, just like he gave the woman a manly stomach. You know, the Lord will put the Spirit on us to have the mind to do whatever needs to be done. But on our end, we have to be sure that, you know, we're making our antenna receptible. And you do that through striving for the truth unto death and letting the Lord fight for you. Okay? That's how you do it. Not taking breaks, not doing it for filthy lucre's sake, not corrupting the system. You have to do it purely and honestly. You don't have to do it to 100%. Just do what the Lord told you to do. You know what I'm saying? You strive for perfection. Don't mean you're going to be perfect. It's damn near impossible to do anything perfect. All right? Mayweather gets punched in the face. I'm quite sure he don't want to get punched at all. Right? So, you know, that agitation process is really a proving ground to see if you're really on that or not. You know what I'm saying? And men of the Lord will come through and come out on top, because they're going to choose Yahweh Shem Yahushai over everything else. You know, and it's a hard thing to do, you know, no lie. But at the end of the day, it has to be done. You know, so yeah, that's all I wanted to go over, man. To the elect, man. This agitation and this you know, as it says, the closer we get to this thing, like a woman in childbearing and laboring, she's gonna, you know, the closer you get, the more the pains increase, which is the agitation. And those pains increase via through laws being passed, culture differences, catastrophic events, you know, all kind of things. And it's happening right before our eyes. Benefits, okay? That MOTB is coming through benefit. It's not coming through violence. All right? It's going to come through violence as well after a while, but it's coming through benefits. Where's my dog? Where's my cat? You know, making blind people see again. Neuralink. Okay? But it's an agitation. You want to be a man, Lord, but you thinking about having an arm again. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of agitation that's going to happen to make you say, man, hey, man, hell with that damn arm, man. Stick to the Lord, man. Okay? And I'm going to stand stiff. And that's how they get you. That's how they got Jake with the pandemic. You'll never get to go out again. You'll never get to work. And they ain't have faith, man. And they broke. And they let that agitation move them to the bottom, because that's who they really was in the beginning. All right? So stand stiff, Akin, man. Don't worry about, you know, the wiles of the devil. He's going to constantly be swinging his shots. But long as the Lord is on our side, he will defend us. And he only defend those who have faith in him. All right, the Lord really expects faith. He expects belief. He expects servitude. Okay, you know, he don't expect perfection, man. He just expect us to believe. You know, like we supposed to strive for perfection, but he don't expect perfection. And he says he don't determine who is going to make it or not. If that was the case, Peter wouldn't be at the he wouldn't have been the first stone that was laid, because Peter cut the ear off. Peter drowned when walking on water. Peter ran before the cock crew. All right, but Peter was zealous for Yahweh. Okay, he believed. He had the faith. You know what I'm saying? And he recovered. He didn't just do that, you know, because it's another footnote. He didn't just do that and then keep doing it. No, he learned from it. He grew. Okay? These different things was like, if you go into him running away bro. That's traumatized all over the place, and you react, not justifying it, but if you put yourself in that situation, you'll realize, damn, man, that's some hardcore stuff to have to focus on, man. Okay, and that's the process, of that agitation, and it's not easy, man. It's not easy at all, and it could be underestimated when you're just reading it, man. You know what I'm saying? And you think it's easier said than done, but we have to stand stiff. We have to not be allowed to be moved off our pivot, be tricked out our spot, because Satan is trying to trick us out our spot through agitation. Okay? So with that being said, give our praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash, double honor to our apostles who are elders who rule well. Blessings and salutations to you brothers out there teaching and enduring truth and sincerity. Shalom.